Welcome to this discussion on the least developed countries and the role of the UN system. And thank you for joining me today. Let me start by asking you this question. You are both leading UN teams in least developed countries. What are you doing to support the countries in advancing the SDGs and leaving no one behind? How do you see the role of the UN system, and what are you bringing to the table?
Thank you very much. And this is a great opportunity to share the story of Bhutan. And we've been working very hard not to leave anybody behind. Bhutan is scheduled to graduate from a least developed country this year, which means that some of the official development assistance is going to be reduced. So we're finding creative and alternative ways not to leave anybody behind. And I think one of the best examples is for the monastic body. The UN has provided seed money, about $120,000. Doesn't sound like a lot, but it makes interest in the bank. And the UN worked with the monastic body to create a pension fund for monks and nuns. They study for 4 to 24 years and retire when they're 65. So if they've put in 10 years of service, they will now be able to take out a pension, which they don't have currently. And it makes them a high risk and vulnerable to not having the services that they require in their elder years. So this is going to be a great service. It will also encourage people to continue to work with the monastic bodies and to be part of it. And we're really looking forward to having that type of example that we can scale up for other vulnerable communities in the country.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing this interesting example for a particular group. Thank you very much. May I turn it to you,
yes,
Mauritania?
Thank you. Thank you for giving me an opportunity to speak about Mauritania, a country of the Sahel, but also a country in North Africa. It's a very large country, very little population. 90% of the country is desert. So one of the huge challenges we have is to reach the hard to reach. It's a nomadic country. And so you have villages, communities scattered really far. And so what we are trying to do, the UN, is we've been investing a lot around water, access to water, due to climate change, so there's scarcity of water, and water is a huge source of tension between different communities. Mauritania is very rich in terms of its cultural diversity. It has Arabs and it has people from African descent, and each one of them has its specific trade. And one of the big challenges we have among those communities is they fight over arable land. You have a conflict between farmers and herders. And so what the UN has done, thanks to the SDG fund, but also to the Peace Building Fund, we were able, with about $12 million investment, to be able to start working with about 32 different communities. And we brought them together, so we had 3 agencies doing joint program. And what we've been doing is bringing the community to talk to each other, to communicate, to try to find solutions together, and building water reservoir, building irrigation system, trying to deal with the issue of the land, land titles. So, and we do that through community work, and the place where we work are really far to reach. We go as far as 2,005 kilometers near the border with Mali. So we've been doing that, and today what we are looking at, because this is a model which needs to take into scale, so we are discussing with the government, which funds the models very successful, to see how the World Bank can come in and extend this project to all the village in the neighborhood, because as I told you, the villages are really scattered. So that's one of an example.
Thank you very much for sharing that. This is a kind of a multi-faceted approach in addressing that. And I'm sure that for both countries and for all the least developed countries, financing is a huge challenge for least developed countries. And here we are, the UN system, trying to see how we can leverage that, how can we, use catalytic funding. I would like to hear from both of you the experiences in supporting the financing approach, and whether South-South cooperation has been explored in both your countries with the support of the UN system.
No, thank you very much for the question. Bhutan is graduating again this year, and it's an exciting time. It's an amazing achievement, right? Yeah. But at the same time, it means that new challenges emerge. So one of the things that we have actually learned a lot from South-South cooperation is how to bring the private sector to a place where they can access financing, even without the traditional things like credit ratings, collateral, but there's goodwill there. So one of the things we're doing in Bhutan is we're investing a lot in small grants, somewhere around 50,000 with local authorities. And they can do many programs. Many of them could be bridges, water sanitation, even flood prevention, for example. And by providing these grants and working with them on sustainable business plans and how to maintain this infrastructure so that it benefits the community, really demonstrates that you don't need to have collateral per se in order to get a loan and to make it work. You don't need a credit rating to be successful. And we really use now these examples when we're convening meetings with the private sector and potential investors to Bhutan to say, let us show you. Let us show you our successes, but also how does the local market work? How can you benefit? Because private sector needs to make a profit, and they can see that very clearly from the examples that we have to share. So we try to remove the perception that developing countries are high risk for investment. And in this way, it's our contribution to being able to provide potential investors the information that they need so that they can invest with confidence.
That's fantastic. Private sector has a huge role to play.
Indeed.
In bringing knowledge and innovation, not only in terms of financing. So that's very good, and also for the local development aspect. Yes. Definitely something that we would learn from. Can we hear from you the experience of Mauritania?
I think South-South cooperation is one of the vehicles for Mauritania actually to prosper. It's a country which has a lot of resources, natural resources, potentially, and it needs a lot of financing. And to get that financing, as we all know, it's really difficult for any LDC because it doesn't have the credit rate, but also it's not able to design bankable projects. So what we are doing, so first of all, we are working with UNCTAD to help the government who has set up an investment agency to set up an investment strategy in order for them to have bankable projects. So that's one. Second, we are working with countries such as, for example, Morocco, who has a lot of experience into attracting foreign investment. So we're bringing the know-how of Morocco to make sure that it's available and sharing the good experience. The other thing we've been doing is looking into zakat. Yes. And zakat, as we know, and we work very closely with Qatar. Qatar has been very, very successful country into mobilizing the zakat. And we were very fortunate as the UN, we have benefited from the SDG fund to look into developing, so we supported the government of Mauritania to look into the zakat. So we have estimated that zakat represents about $20 million per year for, and which could be used for development projects such as social programs and everything. So those are the areas we're looking at. Very exciting time.
Well, thank you very much. I mean, this gives us a very nice flavor of the good work that you are leading, both of you, both in Mauritania and in Bhutan. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.